Hello, my leaders, and welcome. Today we are talking about Isaac's wells and how, as Isaac was wandering around and figuring out a place to live and all this stuff, he had to trust God in so many different areas, and he chose not to fight with his army when people came up and tried to fight him. And so, as he was roaming around and everything, he had to just trust that God was taking him in the right place and focusing on that today. So today's this month's memory verse is still that: trust in your Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, or don't depend on your own understanding. However, ours is do not depend on your own understanding. That's how the NIRV says it. And if you want, with the older kids especially, go through the rest of the verse and keep going with, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. You can keep going with that. I love learning about that part of the verse too. Then today's bottom line: trust God no matter what. It's very simple. Trust God no matter what, right? And so Isaac had to trust God in all of those different situations and places, so we can also. Now, this first activity is just a simple warm-up of rock, paper, scissors, and you're doing it in two different teams in your room, where you also have hula hoops that are lined. It's like one big line, giant line of hula hoops, and with that, they probably may have even played this in school or Awana or something like that as well. But what they're doing is the two different teams are on the opposite sides of the hula hoop lines, and then they have to jump with 2 feet and meet in the middle. And the goal is whoever wins that round keeps going to the next kid from the opposite line, and the goal is to get all the way to the opposite team's line, and then to win one final round of the rock, paper, scissors, and then whoever wins that wins a point for their team. And then you can keep going for quite a while. And so that one's just an opening activity. Then this next one, you will get your kids into groups of 2, okay? And then you're going to give each kid a straw and a wax paper. Each team is then going to get a wax paper racetrack. And with this, you'll have some water droplets that you can drop on the racetrack, if you will. And they're going to race teams against teams. You can race the kids against their own pair. You can direct them to blow the droplet at the end of the paper and back, things like that. And so think of different ways that they can race on this paper block all together. And all of this is about, because Isaac is chasing the wells and as looking for all these different wells, it's getting them in the mindset of the water. Okay, so we're using these water droplets as a link into the Bible story of the water. And so Isaac had a big water problem. Let's go figure out what that happened. And so that's going to be your motion into the large group activity time. And then we're going to go through those Isaac's wells and everything like that. Go back to that Bible story when you get back into your small groups. And so as you come back into small groups, open up those Bibles, go through that together in your groups, okay? And then you're going to divide your group back into 2 teams and set a bucket across from each team, and then give them a pile of cotton balls and a spoon, okay? And with this pile of cotton balls and a spoon, basically it's representing the dirt that was inside of the wells, okay? And so you're going to have them race and fill up as much as they can on the spoon to transfer to the opponent's bucket and drop it in the bucket, okay? And then as they do that for a while, whenever time is done, it's done. And then you're going to have them be able to scoop it out if they get an answer correct out of the Bible story review that you have at the bottom of that sheet. And so every time that you ask one of those questions, if one of the teams gets it right, then that team can scoop some out of their bucket, and then whichever team has the least amount of the cotton balls in their bucket wins. So it's kind of a fun one to do or whatever. And then after a winner is declared, read that Genesis 26, 2 through 6. So you can either go through the Bible story before or after. If you want to do it after, you can. And then you have some really good discussion questions on the next page. How can doing the right thing, especially when it's hard, be a way that we can show others that we can trust God, things like that. And so definitely go through those kind of questions as well. Then you have your memory verse activity. And this activity, make sure each kid has a Bible, and then look up that Proverbs 3:5 verse together. And then you're going to have a balloon, okay? And after you go through and read that verse a couple of times so that it's fresh in their minds, then you are going to have a balloon, and you'll have everyone kind of in a circle. And then as they gently toss the balloon from one person to the person on their left, and it goes around the circle, they have to say one word from the Bible verse in order. And so as they do it, trust in the Lord and then at each time it's passed, a new word is said. You can do it with some other variations too, like tossing it to the right or tossing it to every other kid or some other random variation of however you want to play the game. But anyway, it should be some way to work on that memory verse together. And again, with those older kids, you can even keep going into the Proverbs 3:6. And lean not on your own understanding, and all you always acknowledge him. He will make your path straight, that kind of thing. So then this last activity is your prayer/closing activity, and it's a trust journal activity. So with this trust journal, we're working on this trust journal all throughout the month, and this trust journal they're going to be able to take home at the end of the month, but you should have a Ziploc bag with your group's journals in them. And so hand those out, and then you can work on that specific piece of today's activity, and then as a group brainstorm some things that are hard to trust God for, and that's when they're writing in the blank. And so what are some things that it's not easy to trust God with? Write those in the blank, and then make sure those get placed back in the Ziploc bags after you pray over those things, and even talk about, that's when you can really get deep and talk about why is it so hard to trust God with these things, and why is it not as easy as we always think? Well, we want to be in control, all that kind of stuff. So make sure those go back in the Ziplocs when you're done, after you pray and everything too. The big points I want to get across today is like God loves us and wants the best for us, right? And so because God loves us and wants the best for us, we can trust him no matter what. So think of those two as being very connected in today's story. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for all that you guys do. Y'all are awesome. See you soon.